All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, we are live in full effect right here, right now with legendary Bay Area hip-hop artist. We got Hugh EMC right here live on the line. How are you doing this evening?
Yo, man, I'm chilling, man. It's all good, man. My pleasure being on here, man. Thank you for inviting me on.
Hey, man, you were most certainly welcome. I gotta tell you, man, I've been a fan of yours for so many years, man. I remember having some of your old cassettes when I was a kid growing up, man. So just thank you for inspiring the youth, man, and, you know, just for your contribution to hip-hop, man.
Man, thank you. I appreciate that. Most definitely, man. That's what it's all about.
But I gotta ask you, Hugh, like, taking you back to the beginning of your career, like, what actually sparked and inspired you to get into the music industry initially?
Oh, you know, man, when I first heard a hip-hop record, and probably the first hip-hop record I heard was, Cats from My Era, all what I'm saying, all probably would say that's the first thing I heard was the Rapper's Delight, Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight. And, man, that sparked me right there. It didn't spark me to become an MC, but it did spark me to become a DJ. So a lot of people don't know. Like I began my career as a DJ before I started MCing, and so over the years and everything, with me having been exposed to hip hop. Eventually, the whole crack era hit. Everybody became hustlers. I became a hustler like so many other people within my peer group. And, I started a record company. And from there, I just took off from there. I love hip-hop that much. That's like, man, I'm into this, as I started rapping, making around the hood, people were like, okay, there you go, this shit is tight, so that, like I do want to say the positive responses from, a lot of my peers and people I grew up with motivated me to keep writing, keep speaking, and then eventually, like I said, I created a record company, and I was just like, okay, this is the only way I'm gonna be able to get my music out. Is for me to do it myself. And I'm most definitely, coming from the Bay Area, highly influenced by, Too Short, Too Short was selling tapes over there in Oakland. So I was like, okay, man, I'm gonna duplicate that over here in Frisco. Too Short was on the independent label 75 Girls. At that time in Frisco, wasn't no independent hip-hop labels, so I had to go start my own. Probably the only other record that probably came out on wax that I'm aware of before me was my boy Davey D Jam and the original Ragtop Productions crew from out of Valencia Gardens Projects. D Jam was from Filmo, but like the rest of the crew was from VGs, and they put out a record. I think it was Damn Denise. That's the record they put out. And so eventually, man, a little bit of history. A lot of people know DJ EFX, Raul Racinos, DJ Mind Motion's older brother is the one that actually helped me press up my first records and everything. And so, like, yeah, I mean, just kind of like how it rolled, man.
And I gotta ask you as well, just going back to your DJ days there for a moment. I actually did not know you were a DJ before you actually pursued a career as being an MC. If you don't mind me asking, like, what's the story behind you becoming a DJ? Like, did you have the same name as Hugh EMC, or did you have a totally different name then?
No, I had a crazy ass name, man. Like, damn, man, I forget my first name, but my DJ name was Dr. Deep. Like, man, that's deep, right? And like, that's, when Dr. the record like, you know, we was all jamming to the Wrecking Crew records, and Dr. Dre dropped that song, Surgery. So, like, I wanted to be a doctor, too. We had another DJ named Dr. Funk. He goes by the name of DJ High Top now, but, like, due to something, I guess he got with the Funkadelic, Parliament Funkadelic, or something like that. They had some trademark. I don't get it, but like he had been Dr. Funk like forever, you know. And he kind of gets it from his name, Miguel Fonseca. So he was a real popular DJ. He had Dr. Funk, Dr. Dre. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be Dr. D. And I went ahead and I remember my father brought me first set of turntables. He brought me with some JVC. Turntables with pitch control, but they would belt drive, right? And I guess my pops kind of wanted to see how serious I was with this. And, you know, I used to do parties, man, mobile parties, you know. I built my own speakers, like, you know, the whole shit. Made my own DJ coffins to carry my turntables. And then later on, Pops blessed me with some 12s, like some Technic 1200s, man. I was just like, oh, man, you know, that's game over with, man. I'm on these 12s, man.
He got you the good shit.
You know, and man. You know, and I have to shout out my boy Chuck World James, Chuck Love, rest in peace. He's a cat that taught me how to DJ. My boy from Fulton Street, OG partner from Fulton Street, had taught me how to DJ. I used to battle cats in the projects. Man, like, you know, that's when hip hop was young. And you look back on it now, man, it was so beautiful. It was such a, you know, we really didn't trip on how pure it was. You know, because, like, man, like, hip-hop is so different nowadays, you know. And, you know, I also used to DJ at KPOO radio. I DJed there for 7 years. But I was more of an on-air personality at KPOO. So at that point in time, I went by the Hugh EMC, went to Hugh EMC Hip Hop Show, had it every Saturday on 89.5 FM KPOO, San Francisco, and like, you know, I didn't get in the mix or nothing like that. I wasn't no mix master or nothing like that. By that time in my career, but like I was more of an on-air personality, you know, keeping the jams going. You know, I take trips to New York and LA just to make sure I got some of the hottest, newest tracks, you know, just to make sure that because I didn't want to play the same stuff that major stations was playing. I play a little of that, but like I would play a popular artist, but like I would try to get like the B-side or like another really dope song that they made, but you know, like that was on the album or there was a remix or something. Somebody remixed it in New York or something or in LA or something. But like, yeah, and then and for the most part, like, what I would do sometimes, you know, I'll make my own radio edits of certain jams. And also always play Bay Area artists. You know, I was like, you know, your music is hot, I'm going to play it. Now, that's the only thing. You know what I'm saying? That's the only criteria, man. It's got to be hot. I got to nod my head to it, you know. And I would look out for a lot of artists, too. Like, you know, come on in and let's do an interview. You know, whatever we could do to motivate you to push your career forward, you know.
And also, as well, jumping back to your MC days, I also read that you actually call your style Gangsta Scientism. I was wondering if you can give our listeners a little bit more insight on that, and what made you decide to call it Gangsta Scientism?
Okay, so, like, originally, I called it Mr. Knowledge. That's when I first dropped the Gangsta Knowledge EP, and that's the EP with some of the classics like My Poetry, Keep a Bitch Broke, Gangstamatic, you know, songs like that, and It's the Game, which I re-released on the EP, and it's like the whole idea, like when I first started putting music out, my whole goal was always to drop knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Like people that know me, I'm really active in the community. Always been active in the community, from day one. And I understood to get cats like me that grew up slanging and banging and, in and out of jail, like your cats that are really caught up in the street. And it's a lot of African Americans that are caught up in the street lifestyle. And even those that are influenced by it but aren't necessarily as caught up in it as deep, to reach those ears, you got to spit something that they could digest. You got to spit something that they like. So I would make a Gangsta-matic or Keep a Bitch Broke, knowing that, the person's going to listen to my poetry just on the strength of, like, I got you hooked already. And as long as I make the beat type for the knowledge that I'm dropping, I can keep those ears. So that's another thing, too. It's like I drop knowledge, like, you listen to a lot of conscious rappers, and I do this, too. Like, I got certain songs where, like, I'm spitting some conscious stuff, and I get on, like, a more jazzy, more of a hip-hop purist type of beat, you might want to call it, But, like, I notice a lot of these beats are really jazz-influenced. When you hear a lot of people, like, dropping knowledge and everything, and, like, my whole thing is, it's like, if you really want the masses to listen, all of the masses to listen, you got to kick something that they could digest. It's like you got to meet people where they at. You can't expect them to come to you, you're dropping all these big words and all these, these metaphors people might not really understand, and it's kind of like, as a lyricist, I'm like, oh, man, that shit's dope. Like, I dig it. But at the same time, I know a lot of people, they rather throw on some Mozzie or, throw on some, the baby or, you know what I'm saying? It's like, they're gonna throw on some Too Short, throw on some E40 or something, before they throw on like one of the more conscious artists, You gotta, so I kind of call it, it's kind of like, I don't want to say playing a trick though, you know what I'm saying? Because that's not what I'm doing. It's, I'm using what people like so I could gravitate to them. So that was the whole philosophy, the gangster knowledge philosophy. And about the time that I dropped the LP, I called it Gangsta Scientism because I'm dropping science. So I changed the name of my philosophy, Scientism. And right now I'm just kind of like the interchangeable. But the basic aspect of it is, to drop street knowledge, to educate people about social issues, political issues, to raise our political and social awareness as black people, and especially, people in the ghetto, man. We got there's a lot of stuff that African Americans have to climb up out of right now, and it's and I'm right there with my brothers and sisters in the muck and mire of the ghetto, the hood, the track. I still hit the block, what I'm saying, every now and then, man, because like I gotta remind myself of where I came from, and I gotta remind myself, that I'm just a big stop in a fork away from slipping back into that shit. So it's like the maintain, my own sanity dealing with this white supremacist system, while at the same time, being an example for my peers and those coming up under me to walk a righteous path, But like that's basically what the whole Gangsta Scientist philosophy is about, I recently made a song with a crypto called Mobbing for Mario, and that's kind of like an example of me dropping knowledge. That beat is basically kind of like it's kind of like a trap type of beat, let me not say trap, but it's basically like a southern style beat. It's something that somebody else probably would pick like straight, player shit on, or straight gangster shit on. But I use the give a tribute to Mario Woods, who was killed here in San Francisco, by the SFPD.
And also as well, Hugh, I noticed as well, like, I want to take it back to 1989. I know we're going back quite a ways here, but yourself and DJ Rock released a phenomenal album featuring a pimp side and a gangsta side. I was wondering, can you tell our listeners a story behind that record? And of course, how did yourself and DJ Rock initially get connected?
Okay, first I'll be like, the way I connected with DJ Rock, at the time he was called Scratch Master T. And, I had already released It's the Game and The Beat Has Bass as a 12-inch single. And I knew that I needed somebody that had hip-hop. I needed a DJ. And, game for a while. X1 started early, like about 12 years old, mixing and scratching, doing parties. And so I remember I was asking people, who is somebody, man, that, I could probably, connect with, man, that's a dope DJ. And everybody, was pointing me towards, at that time, Scratch Master T, now DJ X1. And so we connected, man, and it was his input with, making beats and picking samples and stuff was invaluable. Just the archives he had and the ear that he got, like Gangsta-matic, that's DJ X1's production. My poetry, DJ X1's production. So it's I made a great move connecting with DJ X1. Now, when we get the Pimp Style EP, I think that's the first EP that I dropped. And at the time, I was recording with this guy named Al Eaton. Rest in peace to Al Eaton. He used to produce a lot of Too Short stuff. He also produced I'm Rolling for Cool Nut. Al Eaton was dope. One of the best, and so this Al EP was like, I was shooting for radio play, and at the same time also I was I always loved that techno funk music. Like I was saying, Dr. Dre influenced me, all them dudes, Uncle Jam's Army, Egyptian Lover, of course the Wrecking Crew, Arabian Prince, LA Dream Team, all these cats coming out of LA, man, with this faster pace, electro funk style hip hop, similar to the Johnson Crew from out of New York, and so you see, Pimp Style is heavily influenced. I redid the Kraftwerk's Numbers track. Al Eaton played it over for me, but yeah, man, it's I wish that I worked with Al Eaton more, but and X1 produced the beat for I Don't Stop. I Don't Stop was originally a track that I did on tape. I did it when I was still. So I redid I Don't Stop, and then the other track was DJ Rock. I forgot the name of the track. But I'll do that with DJ EFX Raul Lucinos over at Secret Studios. And that was kind of like the premiere track. I was featuring my DJ, featuring DJ X1. Featuring DJ Rock, because X1 had changed his name to DJ Rock. He was DJ from Scratch Master to DJ Rock, and now he's DJ X1 for decades. Yeah, you gonna have me dig that shit on the plate, man. You flashed me back on that.
Hey man, that's what I love to do. I love to bring people back in time, man. You know what I mean? I love digging through the crates to find those juicy questions that not a lot of interviewers really ask.
Word.
But also, man, one of my favorite collaborations that you actually did, and I gotta bring this up, man, because I find this collaboration was phenomenal. Two Bay Area, San Francisco artists on one track. I remember in '95, man, you actually collaborated with Rappin' Forte on his album Off Parole, man. I was wondering, what was it like just working with Rappin' Forte and just being in the studio and conversing and working with him?
Man, well, it's a little. So I tell a lot of people, when people like, who's the first? Like, and like, I was like, no, actually, it was Forte. Forte, when I was still DJing, he had collabed with Davey Jam to make a song called him and which was a hit around the city and on radio, college stations and stuff like that. But so like I've been knowing Forte for a long time, and that like I actually got on that record, man. It was a real G call. That big homie called back from out the pen, man, to keep it real. It's like, man, put Huey on something. Put Huey on the track, man. And so we all got up in there, man, and for those, it's those that understand the whole song, Fucking With My Folk. They understand the symbolism of the title and what we spitting, so they can dig what I'm talking about. But it was most definitely a blessing. It was at a time when I was really, really deep in the game, and I most definitely needed, somebody to put their hand out and be like, okay, like, man, I'm gonna fuck with you, Huey. But at that time of my life, man, I was just caught up in the game real tough. I was pushing and selling a lot of dope, and I eventually ended up going to the penitentiary, do a lot of those activities. So I was caught up in all that during that time. But yeah, man, that track right there, man, that's like I was so happy to get on that, man. So I had to come correct. It's like motherfuckers' jaws dropped when I came out the booth. It's like, oh, okay, the rap game be main, man, and so it's like, you gotta stay dropping your heat, man. People end up thinking that moss and grew, like a Rolling Stone. Moss does not grow on a Rolling Stone, so you gotta keep rolling,
And I gotta say as well, I had the opportunity to interview Rappin' Forte as well, and I gotta say, probably one of the most humblest individuals that I ever had the opportunity to interview, man. His knowledge when it comes towards his craft is just absolutely phenomenal.
Yes. Like, his techniques I use in recording to this day that I learned from Forte. And I don't know if Pac learned it from Fo or Fo learned it from Pac. Pac records it with similar process also, and it's it's just a technique where you layer your lyrics, because every MC drops their ad libs and add ambiance to their lyrics in their own fashion. Some people prefer to use reverb and other digital effects or whatever, but when you layer it, like Forte called it putting mayonnaise on everything. Like I put mayonnaise on it, and so it's like when you layer it in this fashion, man, it just brings it out. I remember the first time I was in a lab before, and I seen him do that. I was like, ooh. I was like, you know, you hear that first take, and you be like, okay, like man, that's dope. And he goes up in there, man, and gets to adding to his ad-libs and his mayonnaise, as he says, on it. And it's like, oh, man, it just, man, lightens it up. It's an incredible technique, you know, and it's something that Pac, from what I've been told, what Pac used to do. And when I listen to Pac's music, I can hear it, like, in the music, and, like, because people talk about how prolific Tupac was when it comes to recording. People still sitting on Tupac tracks to this day. And what it was, it's a technique that he used to knock stuff out quickly. You know, Pac could just he'll spit, you know, and then he'll go layering it. Anything hit on the first one, he's gonna catch it on the layer, you know, and it adds, you know, Pac had that hum with me that like you felt Pac in your soul when he spit, and I think part of that technique, you know, and like, I mean, because like they both fuck with each other pretty tough, Pac and Fo, you know, rest in peace to Pac. It's like, you know who learned.
And one thing I gotta ask you, Hugh, and I do want to say first and foremost, man, like, this question could potentially be controversial, so if you do want to pass on it, man, it's completely understandable. But I also read something about how yourself and your homie Sonny Boy actually stopped Tupac from being robbed at Townsend Club. I was wondering if you could tell our listeners, man, just a bit more about that story and what actually transpired to like, you know what I mean, during that day.
Yeah. So, like, this is back when the Gavin convention used to be jumping out here in Frisco. And Pac, you know, he wasn't the great Pac at that time. He was still dancing for Digital Underground. And Digital Underground was filming a video for the Humpty Dance down at the Townsend Club. And so, like, we all came through. Everybody was chilling, you know. And me and SB happened to just be outside. We were walking outside, and SB always been tight with the Digital Underground crew. Like, him and Money B, boys to this day, you know. So, like, he was talking with Pac, and, like, we come out, and at this time, during this period of time, Fillmore and Sunnydale had just made a truce. Like, the Swampy Desert, Sunnydale, is a projects over in the southeast part of San Francisco, and people may not know, we came from OC Projects in the Fillmore, which is on the western side of Frisco, the western edition. And OC Projects is just an effect inside of Fillmore, you know, whereas like Sunnydale at that time was all just one big thing, Swampy Desert, just one big project, and it's a huge project. And we had just made a truce because we had been banging on each other so hard, and it's a trip, man. It's something about them Sunnydale cats, man, and Fillmore cats. We, like, well, whereas when we couldn't make a truce with Hunters Point because I think the beef was so old at that time, you know, at that time, we couldn't make a truce with Hunters Point because I think the beef was just too old, and Sunnydale just kind of came on the scene, you know. So our beef wasn't that old, but like two dudes from the swamp, like they like you know they scoping on Pac, they about to give him the business, right? And so me and Sonny Boy peeped it. So like, you know, we walked over, you know, we chopping it up with. And I was like, hey, you know, man, that's Pac, cool, man. Like, you know, I mean, you know, man, don't rob him. You know what I'm saying? You know, let's go ahead and let that slide. You know, and I don't know. You know, it's like I don't know if Pac like ever got hip to it, but was about to go down. You know, but it was lucky that we had came outside at that point, you know, because actually, to remember, I think Pac was out there smoking a cigarette, solo, you know, and we had stepped out, like, just in time, kind of like, okay, like, you know, when you born and raised in the hood, you got different type of hood cats. Everybody, you know, you got different type of thug niggas, as you want to say, different type of hood cats, you know, and like me and Sonny Boy, I mean, you know, like, you know, we was out of control, still on 80th Street, you know, gangsters, man. It's like we, you know, like we rolled on a lot of motherfuckers' heads, you know, and so it's like you got a sense of like danger, like you could read the cross, and you either did it yourself or a motherfucker that tried you so many times. It's like you see it, and like one thing with Pac, man, I was like, man, like Pac moved around so much, but I think Pac moved around so much, like from Baltimore to, you know, to New York to Marin, to Richmond, to Oakland, to then to L.A. You know, your understanding of like hood politics, I think was a little different. Like Pac would love you so much that he demanded that love from everybody, you know, and I don't think Pac may have not understood like certain hood politics and certain shit, you know. You know, that particular day, you know, man, he had came outside with to go smoke a cigarette, and he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and luckily we was there, you know what I'm saying, to put a stop to it. But like I always think about like the situation, like when he first got shot in New York, it's like, you know, I'll be looking at all these scenarios, I'm running back in my head, and it's just like where I'm from and the way that I think, like, you know, as soon as I was coming, like as soon as I went to the studio, I see two dudes dressed up like in fucking fatigues and shit. It's like, you know, I'm gonna have my strap out with my hand on it in my pocket, or like I'm gonna have my hand on my gun already. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I'm gonna do it in such a fashion where, like, you know, like these dudes got to think about drawing on me, you know, or I'm gonna try to avoid that whole situation at first, you know. You know, just crazy shit. Just make me think about, you know, like a lot of things, you know, like, you know, Pac got into it with the Crips in Las Vegas. Them was real South Side Los Angeles Crips. Like, I'd have been on red alert the whole night. After that shit went down, it's like, either I wouldn't have went to the party, or if I did, I'd have been, like, vested up, real tough, probably in a motherfucking bulletproof car, you know what I'm saying, bodyguards around me and shit, you know, like, I'd have been on red alert. I've been on high alert. So I don't know, you know, it's like, just thinking about that situation with him and Suge and shit, you know, like, when cats, like, you know, cats get so famous, and, you know, maybe, you know, you kind of get a sense of, like, big feeling that you're untouchable or whatever, you know. I just think about that. It's like, man, Suge should have fucking known better, you know, to have Pac in the car with him like that after, because them, you know, them motherfuckers ain't gonna let that go. You know, like you just been jumped on nobodies right here. This is, you know, and that's like LA cats always sliding through Las Vegas. It ain't that far from LA. So, you know, and so that story kind of bring all that to my mind. You know what I'm saying? You know, when it comes to, and that's the only time I ever met Pac was in that scenario, man. And it's like I wish that, you know, I could have knew Pac better. You know, I got so many homies that done died. It's like with the rest of my homies that got killed or whatever, you know, I always think like, man, if I was there, man, that shit wouldn't have happened. If I was there, I could have stopped it. And I think the same thing with Pac. It's like, man, if I was there, man, I'd have been able to talk to him or something, or, you know, I'd have been able to stop him from doing this, or, you know, I'd have been able to pull his coat to certain situations. Like, man, you know, you really need to motherfucking look out for this, that, and the other, you know. But like, yeah, that's some crazy shit. But like, So it ain't where you from, it's where you at. So it's like, man, you could be the baddest motherfucker. They catch you out of pocket in the smallest town, it's a wrap, And so, so many, hip hop artists that got robbed, and and so many rappers are being killed nowadays. Man, it's crazy. So it's like, is there something that we got to raise our awareness on?
And also, as well, you actually released the project titled the Hop Manifesto, which I gotta say, man, that's actually a very catchy name. I like that. But if I was wondering if you could tell our listeners a bit more about that project, and of course, where can we actually snag or sell some copies today?
Okay, so the Hip Hop Manifesto, I'm still in production on it, but you can grab the single "Pray for Me," which is that's the first single that I released. It's you could get that like on iTunes. You can listen to it on SoundCloud. Amazon Music, all of the musical outlets, Spotify, streaming on Spotify, all the shit. And then on SoundCloud, I got like other tracks. You could check out the Bobby for Mario video on YouTube, and listen to it on SoundCloud. And also I got some free downloads on SoundCloud too. So please feel free to to download the free music and spread it around. But the Hip Hop Manifesto is basically a concept that I have, and it is basically asking every hip hop artist, no matter local, national, major, big, small, whoever you are, to put conscious music into put consciousness into your content. And it basically what I'm asking is like, say, every time somebody drops an EP or an album, to put like just one conscious song on that EP or album. And if it's in your budget, to make a video for it and promote it like the same way that you might promote your club song or your street song or whatever, just to start using media to our advantage, because media has been used against us for so many years. It's so much anti-blackness in this motherfucking world, especially in this country. It's insane, and a lot of that's been achieved through the media, So we got to start using the media to our own advantage. So it's like with the Hip Hop Manifesto, it's basically, making a positive song. And it could, it ain't got to be preachy or whatever. Like I was chopping it up with a reporter from KQED the other day, and he mentioned like how Too Short would make certain positive songs, and you really didn't trip off it being positive, but songs like The Ghetto and all that, you know what I'm saying? It's like it was so smooth, but it uplifted you, and so that's kind of like what I'm asking, like every MC, every rapper from every genre to do, to start putting, conscious content into their music, slipping it into your verses, while you spitting that hard shit, drop something self-aware within the verses, and that's the main concept of it. Also, I'm gonna be doing workshops with the Hip Hop Manifesto coming soon. Also, too, through the nonprofit that I helped found, the New Community Leadership Foundation, and I'll keep people abreast to that. But so that's the main thing. So the Hip Hop Manifesto is going to be like a 7-track album, and it's going to be dropping soon. I'm still finishing up. I'm finishing up my lyrics on the last, say, about like 4 songs or whatever. Like I just gotta go up in there and lay them, knock them out, and I'm gonna keep people in tune and abreast of that. But you can go check out Bobby for Mario, the video for Bobby for Mario, the video for I Can't Take It No More, and you can check out Pray For Me, which is like streaming advantages, you know, and we need to consciously do this, like, in a organized, programmed way, because this is how the negative shit has been used against us. You know, Nixon and the CIA made a deal with the media back in around about between 70 and 72, right after the Civil Rights Movement, to criminalize black males in the media, and that's still going. That is still going on today. But that was an actual government program, a government project or whatever, to criminalize the black male, because they wanted to destabilize our community, because they feared like groups like the Panthers and us and, you know, other such organizations, Nation of Islam. You know, they were fearing the rise of black people, and they called it the part of the anti-black Messiah program. And so, like, yeah, so it's like that. You know, that's what it's all about. You know, the manifesto, man. To drop this knowledge and keep it pushing, influence the next generation.
And I gotta ask you, Hugh, like, what is next for you? Because I do know that we only touch base on like a sliver of your career this evening, man. Because your career goes so many years, man, with so many legendary projects. But I gotta ask you, like, currently, what is next for you? Is there anything I happen to miss during this interview? Anything else you still want to talk about or promote while we still have you here live on the Canadian airwaves?
Yo, well, you know, actually, you know, you touched on it. The latest thing that I'm working on right now is the Hip Hop Manifesto, and, you know, I really, you know, want people to get into the track, pray for me. Like, it was like, you know, I really put a lot of my soul and spirit into that, you know, when you listen to the lyrics, and support the Hip Hop Manifesto LP as soon as I drop it. Also, please support the Bay Area Originators double LP. It's a double LP that's available right now. You get it for $9.99, 33 tracks for $9.99, and it's on all platforms. You know, it's also streaming on all platforms too. So take a listen to it. It's the Bay Originators I did a few years ago, and it has that classic OG Bay Area feel with the new modern twist to it, man. I think people will love it.
But I gotta say, Hugh, first and foremost, this is what I normally do quickly right before I wrap things up, that I give a chance for the individual that slides into the radio station airwaves, just a chance to give shoutouts to whomever they want to give shoutouts to, but most of all, man, your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated everything Hugh EMC, if they're not already doing so. But we are an old school hip-hop station, so I'm really hoping they're already following you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I hope so, too, man. You know, and if they're not, you know, tap on in. HUGHEMC. You know, that's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You know, been the main platforms that I'm on. And, yeah, you know, I'm always, you know, posting and, you know, dropping knowledge and, you know, dropping jokes and all the shit. You know what I'm saying? You know, and, you know, and talking about my up-and-coming projects and everything, you know, just, asking people to support the movement.
But I gotta say, first and foremost, Hugh, thank you so much, man, for just taking just a little bit of your time this evening and coming on the radio station. Like I said at the beginning, I've been a fan of yours for many, many years, so thank you for years of amazing hip-hop that not only inspired me, but millions upon millions of individuals worldwide. And I'm most definitely looking forward to many more years of brand new Hugh EMC music.
Hey, thank you. Good looking out, DJ Immortal. I'm most definitely, man. You know, we're going to stay in touch, man. Thank you for the interview. Thank you for inviting me onto the platform. Peace and love to everyone.
Hey, most definitely, Hugh. You are most certainly welcome, and thank you so much again. But for now, man, most definitely stay safe out there out in San Francisco.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Righteous.